Let's talk about exactly how GOA plans on continuing the fight to protect and restore the Second Amendment over these next 4 years, and how you can help us pass pro-gun laws and executive orders in Washington, D.C. Hi, I'm Ben Sanderson, and you're watching the Minuteman Moment. Now, before we get into the video today, I wanted to remind all of you about GOA's free email alerts. Signing up for our emails lets you fight back against any infringement on your Second Amendment rights in both your state, local, and federal level. We're going to need every single gun owner watching this video to get incredibly engaged in politics. Yes, the Second Amendment won last night, but the fight for the Second Amendment doesn't end with elections. You need to stay in the loop for the fights for your rights. And gun owners have to hold all of these elected politicians accountable to their campaign promises. Okay, now back to the video. Ding dong, the gun control witch is gone. These past 4 years, we've seen countless assaults on the Second Amendment from rogue administrative bureaucrats. Whether that be ATF Director Steve Dattelbach and all the policies he's implemented on behalf of the anti-gunners to ban pistols, regulate gun parts, and advance ATF gun registration efforts. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy trying to fearmonger the public into saying that there's a gun violence epidemic. Or even FBI Director Christopher Wray trying to say that believing in the Second Amendment is a core belief of militia-violent extremists. And who could forget about the newly created Office of Gun Control, pushing out whatever Biden or Harris happened to dream up the night before. With a new presidential administration, it's time to wipe the slate clean. GOA allies won big last night and were re-elected to Congress. The Democrats lost their majority in the US Senate, meaning the filibuster and the Supreme Court are preserved for another 2 to 4 years. Now things are certainly looking up, and I'll be honest with you, I won't pretend that the previous Trump tenure was all rainbows and sunshine for the Second Amendment either. GOA is committed to restoring the Second Amendment, regardless of who's in the White House. We sued Trump over the bump stock ban, which recently helped set the recent Supreme Court decision in Carvajal versus Garland that abolished that ATF rule. We never once laid down the fight for gun rights previously while President Trump was in office, and this time is no different. GOA has grown a lot since 2016, and we're hungry for more. And even President Trump recognizes that.
Hello, gun owners of America. I'm so proud of your work defending our constitutional rights, especially our always under siege Second Amendment. When I'm president, I will always listen to gun owners of America. I want to congratulate all of you because you've really come a long way in a short period of time. You're strong on guns, and that's the way we want it.
Over the past few years, we've been fighting tooth and nail against the Harris-Biden administration, not only stopping their pistol brace ban, attacking their zero-tolerance policies, and ending their engage in the business rule right in its tracks. But we also defunded the ATF and ended the veteran gun ban. All of this under an openly hostile White House and Senate. And with the House of Representatives too close to call, but with a friendly Senate, we're optimistic about the ability to get great pro-Second Amendment bills on President Trump's desk for him to sign and to continue the restoration of our rights. And of course, we will be working with President Trump to write executive orders. In the same way that President Biden could infringe on your rights with his pen, President Trump has the ability to restore those rights. These next 4 years will be a pivotal moment in the continued fight for the Second Amendment. Our senior vice president, Eric Pratt, released this comment. Kamala Harris would have continued weaponizing the power of government against the Second Amendment rights of the people. We're thrilled to be charting a far different and brighter course with President Trump, who has promised to repeal the Biden-Harris infringements within his first week in office. Rather than going on defense, we're already preparing to help the Trump administration repeal gun control and restore Second Amendment rights. So what does that mean? First off, we're going to hold President Trump to all of his campaign promises. There's some good stuff here. And it's all stuff he's promised to do within his first week of office. First, President Trump promises to rip up and throw out all of those Biden disasters by ATF in his first week.
The so-called pistol brace rule, which orders law-abiding citizens to register or surrender guns with certain equipment. You know that. Many of you are forced to do it. I don't know. Is everybody doing it as per their demand? Who in this group has done it? There's a hand way back there. And now Biden is trying to ban all private gun transfers in the United States with the stroke of a pen. Let's ban them all. Under a Trump administration, all of those Biden disasters get ripped up and torn out. My first week, but maybe my first day in office, okay? Maybe my first.
President Trump promises to fire anti-gun fanatic ATF Director Steve Dattelbach if he doesn't resign before noon on Inauguration Day.
At noon on Inauguration Day, we will sack the anti-gun fanatic Steve Dattelbach. Have you ever heard of him? He's a disaster. And replace him with an ATF director who respects the sacred rights to keep and bear arms.
President Trump also promised to end the ATF's attack on the firearm industry, known as the zero tolerance policy for federal firearms license holders.
The Biden administration is trying to crush independent firearms dealers by revoking their licenses if they make a single error, even in very unimportant paperwork. You know that. Biden has implemented a vicious zero-tolerance policy. Do you know what that is? It's not good. That revokes the license of independent firearms dealers if they make a single minor error, little tiny error. They're out of business.
Now that's a bunch of good stuff. Now is the time to remind President Trump of the commitments that won him the White House. And if we get to day 8 of a Trump presidency and something isn't done, gun owners need to be locked in, paying attention, and start sounding the alarm to hold him accountable. Now, after week 1, after these infringements are repealed, what then? Well, we've got to make sure Washington, D.C. slashes ATF budget again and reduces their ability to attack your rights. Or even just defund and abolish the ATF like J.D. Vance says.
We need to just abolish the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in the first place. Why does it exist if it's not preventing the gun running on the southern border by the drug cartels, but it's spying on American citizens exercising their constitutional rights?
I sure am glad to have that guy in the White House, I can't lie. But there's a lot of work President Trump can get done by executive order as well. We'll save the specifics for another video, but we've got ideas for a government-wide restoration of two-way rights. The Department of Justice and ATF, the Department of Veteran Affairs, the State Department, the Commerce Department, the Department of Interior, the Department of Health and Human Services, which encompasses CDC and NIH, the Department of Education, the Department of Homeland Security, and even the Department of Defense all have a role to play. If gun owners and grassroots activists can help GOA raise the temperature in Washington, D.C., we can achieve some serious victories for the Second Amendment across the whole government. And that's all without Congress. In a statement, GOA's Director of Federal Affairs, Aidan Johnson, said, "With such a pro-gun mandate from the voters tonight, we're ready to hold Republicans to their election promises to protect and restore gun rights. It's time that Congress finally enacted national concealed carry reciprocity, destroys the ATF's illegal gun registry, deregulates suppressors, and quit funding unconstitutional red flag gun confiscation laws. We're ready to fight and win." Like I said earlier, sign up for our alerts to stay up to date on our path to restoring the Second Amendment over these next 4 years and beyond. Now let's briefly talk with what happened with the rest of the election. In addition to the White House, America elected a pro-gun Senate majority, which will open the gates even further for GOA's no-compromise lobbying efforts. Additionally, this Senate will support the confirmation of numerous federal judges who will support and defend the Second Amendment. Other major GOA victories included the defeat of anti-gun lobbyist Ryan Busey in his bid for governor of Montana, and Senator Ted Cruz's successful re-election in Texas. On top of this, at the time I'm recording, Montana ditched anti-gun Senator Jon Tester, Ohio dropped Sherrod Brown, and Jim Justice, signer of GOA-backed campus carry, flipped West Virginia. This is especially important because removing Chuck Schumer as a majority leader means the anti-gunners can't abolish the filibuster, pack the Supreme Court, pass a bunch of gun control, or add DC as a state to then add 2 more anti-gun senators. The importance of this win is preserving the filibuster for the Second Amendment cannot be understated. And in the House, GOA fought hard to elect pro-gun candidates. Our best allies like Representative Thomas Massie, Representative Chip Roy, and many more won their re-elections last night. We've added some great new representatives too. While I'm filming this, control of the House is too close to call, but Decision Desk is currently predicting a single-seat majority for Republicans when everything is said and done. Be sure to follow our Twitter for the most up-to-date information on the House. But I promise you, no matter what, GOA is going to fight. We're going to fight tooth and nail to get pro-gun bills and provisions to President Trump's desk however we can. And if something bad happens, we'll fight in the courts too. We were able to force Joe Biden to sign pro-gun provisions into law. Surely we can do the same with President Trump. Now that we've gone over all the changes so far, I'll tell you one thing that hasn't changed. Gun Owners of America's commitment to our no-compromise mission. We're ready to fight with all of our might against any and all anti-gun politicians, whether that's in the White House, in the Capitol, or even in the courts. Make sure you sign up for our free email alerts and subscribe below to stay up to date with GOA's latest fights for your rights.